What if Rimuru we are pirates One Piece X Tensura? By KyleBayan. Wealth, fame, power, Gol D. Roger the king of the pirates obtained this and everything else the world had to offer, and his dying words drove countless souls to the sea, marking the beginning of the great pirate era. Join Monkey D. Luffy, a boy who ate the gum fruit, and his twin sister Monkey D. Rimuru, a girl who ate the slime fruit on their adventure across the sea to search for the One Piece. Chapter 20. End of Wapple's tyranny. At Bighorn Village, everyone was busy searching for Dalton, except Zoro, who kept asking, "Who's Dalton?" After a while, Dalton was found. They brought him to the surface and gathered around him, worried for his life. "Dalton, no. Please wake up, Dalton. You have to," Vivi cried. "Don't worry, he's not dead," a voice called out. Everyone looked toward the source of the voice and was surprised to see the 20 MDs show up. "The 20 MDs? A citizen yelled. "He will die if we don't act soon. He has severe frostbite," the first doctor said. "We can begin treating him immediately if you let us," the second doctor added. Murmurs began circling among the citizens, showing clear signs of distrust. "I thought there weren't any doctors here?" Zoro asked, confused. "There are a few doctors, the 20 MDs, Usopp explained. "But they work exclusively for Wapple, so that makes them bad doctors." More hateful murmurs traveled through the crowd. "That's right. We can't trust any of you traitors," a second citizen shouted. "You expect US to leave Dalton to you. You all surrendered to Wapple and turned your backs on US. Wapple probably sent you here to kill Dalton," a third citizen accused. The doctors began removing their masks to show their sincerity. "Please, if you want to save him, then do as we say," a third doctor pleaded. "The 20 of us are still doctors, even though we are forced to serve Wapple against our will. We've always worked to advance our medical research for the benefit of all the patients in this country. It was all because of a certain quack who taught us to never give up. We can't afford to lose good men like him. So please, let us help." After seeing the sincerity of the 20 MDs, the citizens finally allowed them to operate on Dalton. Vivi, Usopp, and Zoro waited outside in the freezing snow during the operation, which lasted for hours. "I can't take this anymore," Vivi said anxiously. "Let's go up the mountain." "Okay, Usopp." "Mr. Bushido." "Ha!" Zoro grunted. "Sitting around and waiting is killing me," Vivi said, pacing. "Rimuru and the others could have gotten hurt in the avalanche. They might be trapped. And don't forget Nami had a high fever. If anything has happened to them, you're worrying about them and Alabasta. Can't you see it, Vivi?" Usopp interrupted, trying to comfort her. "You're carrying too many burdens at once. Calm down. We don't need to go up there at all, and do you know why? Because those 4 are fine. It's them we're talking about, and I believe in them." Vivi was impressed that Usopp made such a good argument, and she felt a sudden surge of respect for him. "Thanks a lot, Usopp. You're full of wisdom." Zoro walked up to Usopp and started poking him in the side. "Nah, he's full of crap. He's just afraid to go up the mountain. I heard there are yetis and huge, man-eating bunnies on that mountain," Usopp admitted, trembling violently. "I don't want to get eaten." "Then say that from the start, you coward," Zoro smirked. "Fine," Usopp snapped, still shaking. "I'm scared to be monster food, but I'm sure they're fine. Rimuru is smart, and she's just as strong as Luffy." At that moment, Vivi's opinion of Usopp slightly dropped after hearing the real reason behind his wise words. Suddenly, their attention was grabbed when Dalton walked out of a nearby house, completely covered in bandages. "It's Dalton," Usopp yelled. "You're okay," Vivi gasped. "Can someone please tell me who this guy is?" Zoro muttered. Dalton suddenly dropped to his knees, causing everyone to gasp in concern. Doctors and villagers rushed out to check on him. "Listen to reason, Dalton," a villager urged. "Get out of my way." Dalton panted heavily. "We can't let Wapple retake the castle." "We just can't." Vivi and Usopp were shocked to realize where Dalton planned to go. "Wait, You mean that's where you're heading? Vivi cried. In your condition. Are you nuts? Usopp screamed. My country is far more important than my health, Dalton declared. He cannot succeed. I cannot let that happen. Not now, not ever. Wapol must perish. I'll stop Wapol even if it kills me. While everyone tried to hold Dalton back, Usopp was deeply moved by his courage. He stepped directly in front of Dalton, turned around, and crouched down. Here, I'll take you to the castle. Hop on, Usopp offered. Dalton was stunned that someone as visibly cowardly as Usopp was offering to carry him. Don't be modest, Usopp said. I want you to save your strength for the fight. That's all. Everyone was left speechless by Usopp's gesture. Dalton accepted the offer and allowed himself to be carried. Usopp strained, trying his hardest to lift Dalton, but he couldn't move an inch. Everyone stared in dead silence. I appreciate this, Usopp, but this isn't working, Dalton said flatly. Just give me a second, okay? Usopp strained. I told you I'll take you to the castle, and that's what I'll do. Zoro palmed his face at Usopp's stupidity. He walked over, hoisted Dalton up onto his own shoulder, and began walking away. Zoro? Usopp blinked. Are you just gonna sit there and watch? Or are you coming with us? Zoro asked without looking back. Usopp got furious and started kicking the air behind Zoro. You stupid jerk. You went ahead and stole my moment. I'm gonna knock your lights out. Zoro casually reached back, grabbed Usopp by the face, and shoved him away. Knock it off. The three began making their way toward the castle, with Vivi following closely behind. Wait, hold on. A citizen shouted after them. There's an easier way up to the castle. The group stopped to listen to this easier route. The villager explained that they had seen a rope system near the town of Jayasta that led directly up to the castle. After hearing about the new path, the group shifted directions and made their way to Jayasta along with the villagers. Meanwhile, up at the castle, Chopper changed into his human form and got ready to fight. Luffy, Rimuru said. Yeah, Luffy replied. Let's let Chopper make the first move. Luffy nodded. Fine by me, as long as I get to punch the guy with the annoying mouth. Chess and Koromarimo panicked as they recognized the reindeer. Look, sir, Chess pointed. It's the doctor's monster, Koromarimo added. The one Dalton stopped. That flag up there. It's the symbol of his faith, Chopper declared, looking up at the castle tower. I won't let you take it down, not now or ever. Wahahaha. Wapol laughed. We're gonna take it and all of you down, and then we're going inside the castle. Show them no mercy, boys. Chess and Koromarimo stepped forward, ready to attack. Old lady, are you gonna fight too? Sanji asked, turning to Kureha. Old lady? Kureha barked angrily. She violently smacked Sanji across the back of the head. If they're more than you can handle, Junior, I'll step in. Thanks, but I can handle this, Sanji groaned, rubbing his head. Koromarimo launched a massive ball of hair toward Kureha, but Sanji instantly intercepted and blocked it. Hey, Afro Man, Sanji chided. Didn't your mother tell you not to strike a lady? Kureha chuckled. That's more like it. Koromarimo smirked. You fell for it. Sanji tried to throw the hairball away, but it stuck firmly to his hands. What the heck? Why won't this stupid thing come off? Is it static electricity? Rimuru asked. Exactly. Koromarimo laughed. Marimo's static cling. Koromarimo began hurling a rapid barrage of hairballs at Sanji. Sanji started flailing around wildly, trying desperately to shake them off. I'll get it off, Luffy shouted. I'll help too. Chopper joined in. Chopper and Sanji tried to peel the hair away, but they ended up just passing the sticky balls back and forth to each other. Meanwhile, Luffy casually and safely plucked the static balls off with ease, completely surprising Koromarimo. Why didn't my attack stick to you? Koromarimo shocked. Because rubber is an insulator, Rimuru explained with a grin. Rubber, Koromarimo gasped. I'll handle it, Chess yelled. He fired a volley of flaming arrows at the three, but they all nimbly dodged the attack. Rimuru grabbed Luffy by the arm and started spinning him around like a lasso. "Take this!" she roared, launching Luffy directly at Wapol. "Yahoo!" Luffy cheered. Luffy crashed hard into Wapol, sending the king flying backward into his giant woolly hippo. The impact sent the massive animal skidding right to the edge of the cliff, while Luffy bounced safely back to the group. "Hey, Big Mouth is still alive," Luffy noted. "Wapol, sir, are you all right?" Koromarimo cried out. "Our apologies. We underestimated them," Chess shouted. Wapol slowly stumbled back to his feet, furious. "I'll kill them. I'll show them the power of the Munch Munch factory. Chess, tell me what I ate in the last 24 hours, and in the exact order I ate them." Chess quickly whipped out a notebook and began reading out loud. "Well, sir, you started by eating 2 cannons on the ship, one sautéed in butter and the other raw. Then, a gunpowder and cannonball salad, followed by the main course of a toasted cottage." "Hey Rimuru, that guy is copying you," Luffy pointed out. "Yeah, but I'm not a pig like him." Rimuru crossed her arms. "Yeah, and he's a bigger pig than Luffy," Sanji muttered. "You see, Straw Hats? Whatever I eat becomes a part of my body thanks to the Munch Munch fruit," Wapol bragged. Munch Munch shock. Wapol's body began to violently transform and expand. He grew massively in size as his arms turned into fully functional cannons. 2 windows and a front door materialized on his torso, and a brick chimney popped out of the top of his head as his skin turned into iron plating. "Wapol House!" he roared. "A house!" Sanji yelled, completely shocked. "Awesome!" Luffy cheered, thoroughly impressed. "And if you'll excuse me, I have to eat." Wapol grinned. "Behold the Munch Munch factory." To everyone's absolute horror, Wapol unhinged his jaw and completely swallowed Chess and Koromarimo whole. "Ha!" Luffy blinked. "No way!" Sanji gasped. "He's eating his own men?" Rimuru growled angrily. "Feast your eyes on this. Come forth, miraculous union." Wapol shouted. "Union?" Rimuru asked. "What kind of union?" Sanji demanded. The front door on Wapol's chest burst open, and a bizarre hybrid of Chess and Koromarimo stepped out. "I am Chess Marimo," the fused warrior announced. Luffy's eyes literally sparkled with excitement. Sanji and Rimuru, on the other hand, were completely unamused. Miraculous union? More like a ridiculous union. Rimuru thought, deadpan. "Cool," Luffy beamed. "That's ridiculous." Sanji irritated. "Don't let your guard down," Kureha warned. Rimuru looked over. "They might look silly, but don't be fooled," Kureha explained. "They're tough. So tough that the citizens couldn't stand against them. That's how these thugs were able to exile all the doctors." "Well, I'm not too worried about them," Rimuru shrugged. "Huh. You should be worried," Wapol barked. "Because you all broke the first law of the Drum Kingdom. Anyone who disobeys the king will be put to death. Since every single one of you broke that law, you're all going to be punished. But first, I'm going to deal with the matter of that Quack's flag, which has sullied my castle. I'll blow that thing away." Wapol aimed his cannon arm and fired a direct shot at the top tower, knocking Hirulix's pirate flag right off its mount. "Is that a pirate flag?" Luffy asked quietly. He glanced over at Chopper and realized exactly how much that symbol meant to the little reindeer. "Rimuru, could you give me some thread?" "Sure." Rimuru nodded, generating a spool of sticky slime thread. Furious at Wapol's actions, Chopper lost his temper and rushed forward into the fray. "How dare you! You attacked the doctor's flag! You freak!" Chopper reeled back to punch Wapol in his human form, but he suddenly froze, recalling Dr. Hirulix's peaceful words about not fighting out of pure hatred. Wapol didn't care why Chopper hesitated. He simply aimed his cannon and blasted the reindeer away. "Hey, Big Mouth!" Luffy's voice boomed. Everyone's attention instantly shifted up to the roof. Luffy was standing proudly on top of the tower, having perfectly tied Dr. Hirulix's flag back into place using Rimuru's web thread. "Straw Hat!" Wapol snarled. You guys aren't real pirates, are you? Luffy shouted down, glare intensifying. That's why you don't know what a flag means. It's 'cause you guys are fakes who don't risk your lives. What a pirate flag means? Wapol laughed hysterically. Wahahahaha. Don't make me laugh. Flags have no meaning. If that's what you think, then your kingdom's flag has no meaning either. You idiot, Rimuru yelled. What? Wapol snapped. Pirate flags have meanings, and they aren't raised as a joke, Luffy declared. The only joke here is that I let you fools live for as long as I have. Wapol screamed, aiming his weapons upward. And since you put that flag back after I knocked it down, it's time I deliver the punchline. Do your worst, Luffy said calmly. You can't break this flag. Wapol aimed his main cannon and fired a massive explosive shell directly at Luffy. Hey, look out! Chopper screamed. The cannonball landed a catastrophic direct hit right where Luffy was standing. Luffy? Sanji yelled. That was a direct hit. Kureha gasped. He was blown to pieces. Mahahahaha. Wapol cheered. But as the thick smoke cleared, Luffy was still standing there. He was completely unflinching from the blast, holding the pirate flag high and proud. Everyone except Rimuru gasped in pure shock. I told you, Luffy said, his voice echoing. You can't break it. What? How did he do that? It's impossible, Chesmerimo stuttered. I have no idea who this pirate flag originally belonged to, but it doesn't matter, Luffy said angrily. A pirate flag is someone's pledge to risk their life. It's not something to laugh at. It's something you jackasses will never understand. Not in a million years. It won't break. Ever. Because the skull on it is a symbol of faith. A sudden, heavy wave of fear washed over Wapol and his men. Chopper looked up at Luffy in absolute awe, completely amazed by how strong and unyielding he was. Incredible. So this is a pirate, Chopper thought. Hey, Chopper, Rimuru called out gently. Chopper snapped out of his amazement and looked over at her. My brother is set on kicking their asses for disrespecting the doctor's flag. Rimuru smiled, pointing toward Wapol. Want in on the action? Chopper glanced back up at Luffy. The rubber pirate was grinning widely down at him as he planted the flag firmly back into the tower. Chopper turned his gaze back to Rimuru, tears welling up in his eyes. Are you sure? If you feel so strongly about that flag, then I'll just blow you away along with it. Wapol screamed, re-aiming his cannons at Luffy. Rimuru instantly darted forward, blurring across the snow. I don't think so. What? Wapol gasped. Chesmerimo tried to jump in the way to protect Wapol, but Chopper intercepted him. One sword style. Tempest haze. Lightning slash. Rimuru yelled. She coated her blade in a swirling vortex of water and crackling electricity, delivering a vicious horizontal slash right across Wapol's gut. The strike sent the tyrant flying backward, coughing up blood. Wapol! Chesmerimo cried out. He turned and glared down at Chopper, who had shrunk back into his small, hybrid form. You must be the Yeti the villagers are always talking about. Why are you trying to save this country, especially after they tried to kill you multiple times? I bet you spent your whole life all alone with no friends. Shut up, Chopper yelled back. What if I don't have friends? I'm still fighting for something I believe in, and as long as that flag is flying, I will fight. You're wrong, Chopper, Rimuru shouted. Huh, Chopper blinked. Up on the roof, Luffy stretched his arms out wide, preparing to slingshot himself back down to the ground. You do have friends. We're your friends, reindeer. Luffy rocketed downward, launching himself directly at Wapol, who was just trying to get back up. Waiawa! Wapol screamed as Luffy crashed squarely into him, forcing even more blood from the king's mouth. Luffy stood up and pointed aggressively at Chesmerimo. Hey, reindeer, can you finish off that two-headed guy for me? That one over there? Piece of cake, Chopper declared, pumping his fist. Good, Luffy grinned. While you're doing that, we'll handle Tubby over here. Rimuru finished, stepping up beside her brother. Wapol stumbled back to his feet, absolutely livid. You two dare to harm me, this country's monarch. You'll pay for that insult. Sanji, make sure to protect the doctor, Rimuru instructed. Sure, leave it to me, Sanji nodded, lighting a cigarette. Turning the focus over to Chopper's battle against Chessmerimo, the little reindeer stood his ground. I'm taking you down. Is that so? You and what army? Huh? You little freak, Chessmerimo mocked. Watching from the sidelines, Sanji muttered, Freak? That's like the pot calling the kettle black. He then turned to Kureha. Is he going to be all right? Don't worry, Kureha smirked. When push comes to shove, my little reindeer can hold his own. Chopper glared at his opponent. Listen up. My name is Tony Chopper, a name given to me by the world's greatest doctor. He was a wonderful man. Even if he forgives you for disrespecting his flag, I won't forgive you. The only one who'll show no forgiveness is me. I'll stomp you, Chessmerimo threatened, pulling out a pair of massive hammers. Chopper reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, round medicine ball. The effect of this rumble ball lasts for only 3 minutes. That's all the time I need to take you down. 3 minutes, Chessmerimo laughed. Haha, you couldn't defeat me in 3 years, let alone 3 minutes. Just 3? Amazing, Luffy muttered, watching closely. You must be really confident in your strength to let your enemies know your time limit, Rimuru noted with a smile. Chopper popped the rumble ball into his mouth and swallowed it. Instantly, an intense wave of power began flowing through his veins. Chessmerimo readied 2 flaming arrows. Rumble, Chopper muttered. You're no match for this. Chessmerimo fired the arrows. Walk point, Chopper called out. He instantly transformed into his full deer form, using his incredible speed to effortlessly dodge the incoming fiery projectiles. Heavy point, Chopper shifted again. We know that Zoan users only have 3 forms, so you have nothing left to surprise us with, Chessmerimo shouted, swinging his hammers down as Chopper shifted into his large, human-like form. Jump point, Chopper commanded. Suddenly, his body changed into a lean, long-legged form, and he leaped incredibly high into the air, soaring right over the hammer strike. Whoa! Luffy and Rimuru yelled in unison. Got you! Chessmerimo anticipated where he would land and swung his hammers blindly. Guard point, Chopper called out mid-air. In a flash, Chopper transformed into a giant, spherical ball of pure, explosive fur. The hammers struck the fur, but the massive cushion completely absorbed the impact, causing Chessmerimo's weapons to bounce right off as Chopper rolled safely away into the snow. Another form? Chessmerimo shocked. That won't work, Chopper said, shifting back and shaking the snow off his fur, completely undamaged. No way! I hit you dead on, Chessmerimo screamed. Awesome, Luffy cheered. So fluffy, Rimuru cooed, her eyes turning into hearts. How is this possible? Chessmerimo panicked. Zoan users have a 3-form limit. What the heck are you? The Rumble Ball is a special drug I developed that distorts the wavelengths of the Devil Fruit's transformation, Chopper explained proudly. After 5 whole years of research, I discovered 4 additional transformations. A 7-form transformation. That's impossible, Chessmerimo yelled. Luffy was so utterly amazed that his eyes were sparkling like stars, completely forgetting about Wapol entirely. So what? That trick isn't going to save you, Chessmerimo roared, charging forward. Arm point, Chopper countered. He transformed into his human-like form, but this time his upper body and arms swelled with massive, rock-hard muscle. Chessmerimo swung his hammers with all his might. Chopper thrust his hooves forward in a powerful strike, completely shattering both of Chessmerimo's steel hammers into pieces. I should warn you, Chopper said calmly. My hooves can shatter solid stone. My hammers! That does it! Chessmerimo enraged. He dropped the handles and drew 4 sharp battle axes, swinging them in a cross motion to generate a sharp shockwave that clipped Chopper's side. Taking full advantage of the rumble ball's fluid shifting, Chopper rapidly changed forms to slide beneath the swinging axes. "Stand still, will ya?" Chessmerimo screamed. Chopper shifted into his jump point and launched himself backward, creating a safe distance between them. "Brain point, scope," Chopper commanded, returning to his small, cute hybrid form. He brought his hooves together in front of his eyes, squinting as a scanning target appeared in his vision, analyzing Chessmerimo's stance. "I wasn't just dodging your swings," Chopper noted. "I was looking for your weak spots." "A beam. He's gonna shoot a beam," Luffy predicted excitedly. "No, he won't, you idiot," Sanji irritated, kicking the air. "You shut your trap," Luffy snapped back. "I'm telling you, it's gonna be a beam." Chessmerimo charged blindly toward Chopper to finish him off. "Trying to find my weak spot. Huh. Well, I got news for you. I don't have any. Your little transforming parlor tricks won't save you now." "Found it," Chopper whispered. As Chessmerimo closed the distance, Chopper dropped low and dove cleanly under the snow. Chessmerimo stopped, looking around frantically for where the reindeer had gone. Suddenly, Chopper burst out of the snow directly beneath him in his muscular arm point, driving a devastating hoof strike right into the fused man's lower jaw. "Rosio!" Chopper roared. Just as the blow landed, Chopper's 3 minutes expired. He shifted back into his small hybrid form, casually dusting the snow off his pink top hat. Chessmerimo collapsed into the snow, completely knocked out cold. Luffy immediately showered Chopper with loud praises, making the little reindeer blush and do a funny, bashful dance. Suddenly, a massive, thunderous roar accompanied by a terrified scream caught everyone's attention. They spun around to look toward the castle entrance and gasped. Wapol was currently being absolutely thrashed by a horrifying giant creature. "What the heck is that thing?" Luffy, Sanji, Kureha, and Chopper yelled in complete shock. Going back a few moments prior, "The castle is unguarded. Now's my chance," Wapol thought to himself. While everyone else was completely distracted by Chopper's fight, Wapol had tried to quietly sneak inside the castle doors. However, Rimuru instantly blurred into motion, blocking his path with her sword drawn. Wapol flinched, stopping in his tracks. "Where do you think you're going?" Rimuru asked coldly. "TSK, do you really think you can get in my way?" Wapol sneered. "Your flimsy little sword couldn't even keep me down before. It may be true that you're tougher than you look, and your power to eat and mimic things is impressive," Rimuru reasoned, "but honestly, you're weak." "Weak," Wapol growled, thoroughly irritated. "You say my powers are inferior to yours. Die!" Wapol lunged forward, opening his massive munch-munch jaw to swallow Rimuru whole. Rimuru smirked. "Transform." In an instant, Rimuru liquefied into her blue slime form, rapidly doubling and tripling in size. Suddenly, a massive, scale-covered arm burst from the slime mass and punched Wapol directly in the face. The king bounced hard across the snowy ground, looking back up at her with pure frustration. "That little... Huh!" Wapol's eyes widened in horror. The slime mass expanded and shifted violently. Rimuru grew the ferocious heads of both a giant wolf and a venomous snake. Her main face became adorned with sharp tusks and 8 piercing eyes. Her arms grew thick, covered in a mixture of dinosaur and razor-sharp fish scales. Massive, leathery bat wings sprouted from her back, and a long, armored tail emerged, ending in the snapping head of a giant centipede. Wapol began to tremble uncontrollably. Standing before him was no longer a human or a simple slime, but a terrifying amalgamation of apex predators. All of the creature's heads glared down at him with pure malice. Rimuru let out a deafening, echoing roar. "Weiawa!" Wapol screamed. Rimuru rushed forward, driving a heavy reptilian fist straight into Wapol's gut. The sheer force smashed him into the dirt, displacing tons of snow and creating a massive crater in the courtyard. This was the exact explosion of noise that had alerted Luffy and the others. The wolf head on Rimuru's shoulder latched its jaws onto Wapple's head, violently thrashing the king back and forth like a ragdoll. As Wapple was being shaken, a shiny silver object flew out of his coat pocket, catching Rimuru's eye. It was a key. A key, Rimuru noted. Before Wapple could process anything, the snake head lunged forward, biting his shoulder and tossing him high into the air. "Gee, get away from me!" Wapple screamed in agonizing pain. Desperate to escape, Wapple leveled both of his cannon arms at Rimuru and opened fire, unleashing a direct, point-blank explosion. "Whoa, that's Rimuru!" Luffy yelled from afar. "What, really?" Sanji gasped. Luffy's eyes sparkled with pure excitement, his jaw hitting the snow. "Awesome!" Rimuru flew directly out of the rolling black smoke completely unscathed, her bat wings flapping powerfully as she caught up to Wapple in midair. Her centipede tail whipped forward, wrapping tightly around Wapple's torso and pulling him back within arm's reach. Razor-sharp raptor claws extended from her fingers, and she began furiously slashing away at Wapple's iron-plated armor. Wapple's mind raced as he panicked, trying to find any way out of the nightmare. "Put me down. This is a capital offense. Harming me means you're all in trouble with the world government." "You're an idiot," Rimuru replied, her voice overlapping into a deep, corrupted echo. "Huh!" Wapple gasped. "You lost your title as a king the moment you abandoned your people and fled to become a pirate." Rimuru's corrupted voice boomed. "The world government sees you as no different than us." The centipede head on her tail snapped forward, biting deeply into Wapple's leg, causing the tyrant to wail in agony. "Luffy, I'm gonna set him up for you, so give it your best shot," Rimuru shouted across the courtyard. "Right," Luffy cheered. He ran back as far as the courtyard allowed, building up a massive head of steam before sprinting back. "Let's go!" Luffy leaped incredibly high into the sky, stretching both of his arms backward as far as they could possibly go, reaching far into the distant mountain peaks. "You shouldn't have messed with that flag," Rimuru's deep voice growled at Wapple. "Now my brother is gonna finish you off." "Waiawa!" Wapple cried out. Rimuru spun Wapple around in the air so violently that the surrounding snow began to whip into a localized vortex. With a massive heave, she hurled Wapple directly into Luffy's incoming path. "Now, gum 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 gum," Luffy roared. "Wait, don't do this," Wapple begged, crying. "Bazooka!" Luffy's open palms struck Wapple squarely in the chest with a devastating impact, launching the tyrant like a rocket, sailing far past the mountain peaks and disappearing over the horizon. Chapter 21. Cherry Blossoms Bloom. Following the group in Bighorn Village. After the 20 MDs saved Dalton's life, everyone made their way to Jayasta to search for the route Kureha used to climb the Drum Rockies. After searching around Jayasta for hours, they found a thick rope attached to a massive tree that led straight up to the castle. Murmurs quickly circled the crowd about the existence of this hidden pathway, and many realized that the massive tree was actually Kureha's true home. The villagers attached one of their unused gondolas to the rope system and began their steep climb to the top. "Great view from here," Zoro noted, looking out into the horizon. "Yeah, but isn't this a teensy bit crowded?" Usopp muttered, sweating as he looked around. "We can't let Dalton go on his own. He's way too injured," a citizen explained. "We'll fight alongside him," another shouted. Okay, I get it," Usopp yelled anxiously. "But we're so overcrowded that it's going to take forever to get there. You on the engine, pedal faster. Dalton, please just relax," Vivi pleaded, leaning over him. Dalton, who was still in serious physical pain, clutched his chest as he recalled all of Wapple's cruelty and arrogance over the years. "To hell with status," Dalton roared angrily. "To hell with it. Cough." Dalton suddenly coughed up a splatter of blood and collapsed against the floor, instantly alerting the others. "Dalton?" Vivi gasped. "Someone help me lift him. Dalton, can you hear me?" Everyone huddled around the fallen warrior, deeply concerned for his health. I won't. Dalton panted heavily. I can't stop. Not until I make Wapol pay for what he has done to this country. I'll show him what happens to a country that doesn't have a heart. Dalton reached deep into his winter coat and pulled out a massive bundle of explosives, surprising everyone on board. Dynamite! Usopp screamed. Everyone listen to me, Dalton ordered. Once we reach the top, take cover. Because once I'm inside that castle, I'll blow Wapol into absolute oblivion. Suddenly, a loud, thunderous roar echoed from the top of the mountain. Gai-awa! There's a monster! Usopp shrieked. Everyone looked up toward the castle, wondering what could have possibly made such a terrifying sound. One of the villagers pointed frantically into the sky. Look, there's something crazy going on at the castle. Everyone shifted their gaze to where the man was pointing. High above, they saw a massive snow tornado, a giant demonic creature, and Luffy striking right through the vortex, knocking a round figure far over the horizon. When the gondola finally reached the castle docks, Usopp was the very first one to jump off, fully planning to run away the second he spotted anything frightening. Everyone stay here, Usopp lied, puffing out his chest. I'll go on ahead to face the monster fro. Hey? Zoro casually stepped past him out of the gondola and began walking straight up the stairs. Usopp got deeply irritated that Zoro had ruined his hero moment and sprinted past him to regain the lead. I'm going first, Usopp declared. But the moment the two reached the top of the snow-covered stairs, Usopp quickly ducked and hid directly behind Zoro's back. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Zoro grunted, trying to shake him off. Just watching your back, Usopp claimed. Zoro tried to shove Usopp away, but the liar clung to his coat even tighter. Hiding behind me is more like it. As Zoro tried to pry Usopp off, the ground suddenly began to shake. Zoro! Usopp! You're both here! A voice called out. They both looked in the direction of the voice, but they immediately jumped back in terror. A massive monster was standing there, with Luffy lying face first in the snow right next to it. In a flash of light, the monster transformed back into Rimuru's human form, while Luffy groaned and pulled his face out of the snow. Just as Luffy stood up, Vivi came up the stairs and gasped in relief, seeing that everything seemed perfectly all right. You're here too, Vivi? Rimuru smiled. I'm surprised you guys actually made it up here. Luffy blinked. Well, not you, Zoro. Why are you even here, Usopp? Rimuru asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, Luffy agreed. Aren't you totally scared of stuff like climbing mountains? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, right? Usopp laughed boastfully. When there's a towering peak in front of me, I just get to climbing. But let me tell you, scaling that mountain hand to hand was absolutely no picnic. Sure, Rimuru smirked, pointing down toward the docks. I bet that gondola ride downstairs was very exhausting. Usopp's face faulted directly into the snow after Rimuru easily revealed she knew exactly how they got up. He quickly scrambled back up and began rambling a wild cover-up story, but absolutely no one was paying attention to him. What about Nami and Sanji? Are they all right? Vivi asked anxiously. Yeah, Luffy nodded. Both of them are just fine. You called Vivi dear, Sanji crooned, suddenly sliding into view with hearts in his eyes the moment Vivi mentioned his name. Rimuru gestured toward Sanji with her thumb. See? Told ya he's fine. Dalton finally made his way up the stairs, panting. Zoro turned back to the twins. Anyway, what were you two doing a few minutes ago? Kicking Big Mouth's ass. Luffy grinned. Big Mouth. Dalton blinked. He means Wapol, Rimuru clarified. Dalton's eyes widened in sheer surprise as he realized that the round object they saw flying through the air earlier was actually the tyrant himself. Wait, so that thing that flew away was Wapol? Why you actually beat him? Yup, we sure did. Luffy laughed. I wouldn't really call it a normal beating, Rimuru corrected with a smug grin. It's more like I completely thrashed him. And then Luffy dealt the ultimate finishing blow. And his two henchmen? Dalton asked quickly. What happened to them? Oh, The reindeer beat them up, Luffy explained. Those two? Defeated by a reindeer? Dalton gasped. He then paused as a sudden realization washed over him. Could it be? Hey Usopp, we made a brand new friend. Luffy cheered, turning around. You gotta meet him. Get this, he's a reindeer. Usopp snapped out of his daydream and looked at the twins in utter confusion. A reindeer? Yeah, he's standing right there, Rimuru said, pointing. She pointed over toward a nearby courtyard, where Chopper was currently hiding behind a tree, completely backwards, with his body fully visible and only his eyes hidden behind the trunk. Dalton stared at the little reindeer in awe. It really is you. Do you already know Chopper? Rimuru asked. Yes, Dalton said softly, tears swelling in his eyes. So, you never gave up, did you? You kept fighting this whole time, believing in what this country could truly become. Dalton dropped to his knees and bowed his head deeply toward Chopper, crying openly. Thanks to you, the Drum Kingdom can finally be reborn. Just then, the rest of the villagers and men from the gondola made it up the stairs. The moment they saw Chopper, they gasped and recoiled in fear. What the heck is that thing? A man yelled. It looks like some kind of reindeer, another noted. No, you're wrong. It's a monster, a third shouted, reaching for his weapon. Wait, don't shoot, Dalton commanded, trying to stand up. Usopp started completely freaking out the second the citizens called Chopper a monster. Ahawk! It's a Yeti! Somebody shoot it! Chopper got completely startled by Usopp's loud screaming and panicked, turning on his heel to run away. Luffy and Rimuru instantly marched over and simultaneously smacked Usopp hard across the back of his head. You jerkface! Luffy barked angrily. He's a reindeer, not a monster, you dumbass. Rimuru scolded. And he's our new friend, Luffy yelled. That thing is your friend? Usopp shocked, rubbing his head. You assholes scared him so bad he ran away, Rimuru shouted at the crowd. I'll go get him so you guys can meet him properly, Luffy declared. Luffy bolted off into the snow, chasing right after Chopper, who was sprinting for his life. Come back here, reindeer. I want to introduce you to my other friends, Luffy bellowed. Waiawa! Chopper screamed, running faster. After a good while of sprinting around the castle grounds, Chopper finally managed to lose Luffy in the corridors. However, he immediately had to run away again the moment anyone else spotted him. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Dalton and Nami were being properly nursed back to health by Kureha. So, Dalton, Kureha said, wiping her hands, you wouldn't happen to have the key to the royal armory on you, would you? The arsenal? Why do you need to get in there? Dalton asked, resting against his pillows. Kureha popped open a fresh bottle of alcohol and took a heavy swig. It's none of your business now, is it? Well, Wapol always carries the key on his person to keep it secure, Dalton explained. If that's still the case, then it was likely blown straight into the sky along with him. Is that so? That's a real shame, Kureha sighed. Hey, Doctorine, Rimuru called out, stepping into the room. Kureha looked over. I guess it's about time we talk about your fee for helping us out, Rimuru said, crossing her arms. And while you're at it, could you officially discharge our navigator too? Is that a joke? Kureha barked, crossing her arms. Because you should know that I'm the one who decides the cost of my fees. I'm taking all of the cargo and all of the money currently sitting on your ship. Wait, all of our money and cargo? Nami shocked, sitting straight up in bed. That's super expensive, you cheapskate. That's real rich coming from you, Rimuru whispered to Nami with a smirk. Also, your navigator still needs to stay here and rest for at least 2 more days, Kureha added firmly. Rimuru, she's right, Vivi agreed, stepping forward. Nami really needs to complete her treatment. Oh, don't worry about it, Vivi, Nami sighed, waving her hand. I don't feel like I'm gonna die anymore, but I am seriously concerned about that price tag. Well, we don't need to worry about the money at all. Rimuru smiled smugly, holding up a shiny silver key between her fingers. Because I think this should be the perfect trade. Dalton bolted up in his bed, staring in absolute shock at the item in Rimuru's hand. How on earth did you get the key to the armory? Wait a minute. Kureha narrowed her eyes, stepping closer. If that's really the genuine key, then tell us exactly how you got a hold of it? It fell off Wapple while I was violently chewing on him. Rimuru giggled. So, how about it? Are you willing to negotiate with me now? Kureha walked right up to Rimuru, staring down at the slime girl's incredibly smug expression. You've got some serious nerve trying to negotiate with me like this. Teehee, Rimuru chirped. With a swift motion, Kureha snatched the key out of Rimuru's hand and turned on her heel, walking away. Fine, you don't have to pay my doctor's fee, but that is as far as I'll agree to go. The girl still has to stay here for 2 full days. Hold on. In that case, Nami started to protest. Before Nami could cause a scene, Rimuru quickly hopped over and covered her mouth with a hand. That sounds perfectly fair enough to us. Rimuru then leaned in close to Nami's ear. Relax, she whispered. I've got a plan. Kureha opened the heavy wooden door to leave the medical wing, but she paused at the threshold and turned back to the group. I've got some important business I need to take care of right now, and it's not like I can find any royal guards to keep a strict eye on you anyway. She glanced pointedly at Sanji, then back at Rimuru. And you? Me? Sanji pointed to himself. You're still injured, but you should be well enough to move around, Kureha noted. The rest of you villagers, come with me. I have some heavy lifting for you to do outside. With that, Kureha left the room, followed by a large group of the village men. Nami blinked, looking at the closed door. Did she just basically tell us to sneak out? She sure did, Rimuru chuckled, letting go of Nami's mouth. Makes things a whole lot easier for us, because that's exactly what I was planning to do anyway. Later that night, Chopper was finally able to fully lose Luffy in the snowy woods around the castle. Pant, I've sure been running for a long time, Chopper muttered to himself, resting against a snowbank. Night came before I even realized it. I don't hear that crazy rubber guy anymore, so I guess I finally shook him. This is for the best. I can't leave this place. Chopper sat down, deeply pondering his life, when Luffy's loud voice suddenly echoed through the trees again. Reindeer, come out here. Chopper's jaw dropped. He's still at it. Walking through the deeper snow, Luffy, Zoro, and Usopp were still searching. Luffy kept calling out at the top of his lungs, while Usopp was casually rolled up a snowman to pass the time. Come on, Luffy, Usopp sighed. Why don't you just give it up already? We've been tracking him forever, and he still hasn't shown his face. You're just gonna have to accept the fact that he doesn't want to be a pirate, Zoro muttered, hands resting on his swords. No, that's not true, Luffy yelled back. I want the reindeer to be a pirate with us. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Zoro snapped, irritated. Reindeer, wherever you are, come out. Luffy shouted, completely ignoring Zoro. While Luffy was busy calling out, Chopper watched them from a nearby ridge, his heart completely torn between staying safe in his home and wanting to go out to sea with them. After a long moment of internal struggle, Chopper finally decided to confront Luffy directly. Just as Rimuru, Vivi, Nami, and Sanji walked out of the main castle doors to join the boys, Luffy noticed Chopper standing proudly on the castle roof. Hey, reindeer guy, Luffy cheered, waving his arms. Come with us and be a pirate. I can't, Chopper yelled down, his voice trembling. Sure you can, reindeer. It's a whole lot of fun. Luffy smiled. That's not a very convincing argument, Usopp yelled at Luffy. I can't, Chopper cried out, tears starting to stream down his face. I'm not a human. I'm a reindeer. I have antlers and hooves. Don't you see? I even have a blue nose. Rimuru stepped forward and called up to him. So what? I'm supposed to be Luffy's twin sister, but I have bright blue hair. Plus, I'm literally a slime. Chopper paused, caught off guard. Oh, okay. Maybe I do really want to be a pirate, but I can never be one of you. I'm not human. I'm a monster. I can't be your friend, and I can't be a pirate on your ship. I'm just here to say, thank you. I appreciate you asking me to join your crew. That was really nice of you. So thank you. I'm gonna stay here for now. But if you want, you guys can come visit me sometime. Luffy drew a massive breath and screamed at the top of his lungs, "Shut up! Let's go!" Deeply moved to his core by having found real friends who didn't care about his appearance or nose, Chopper completely broke down and started to sob. Rimuru sprouted her massive bat wings and flew up to the roof, landing gently beside Chopper to comfort him. Structures change, but hearts don't, Rimuru whispered kindly. Go ahead and let it all out. Chopper let all of his suppressed feelings out, completely unbothered by the fact that Rimuru had just randomly grown wings. Thank you for inviting me, he cried. Why don't you go and say a proper goodbye to Doctorine before we head out? Okay? Rimuru smiled, patting his hat. Chopper wiped his tears away and nodded. Okay. Chopper scurried back inside the castle to find Kureha. Rimuru floated back down to the rest of the crew. Nami, how are you feeling? Usopp asked. Have you completely recovered from your illness already? I sure am. I feel absolutely great. Nami smiled, giving Usopp a solid thumbs up. Meanwhile, Rimuru and Luffy had already moved on to packing together a truly colossal snowball. Hey, why don't we say goodbye to that Dalton guy from the village? Luffy suggested. Don't be so thoughtless, Nami chided. We need to leave Chopper alone so he can say goodbye to Kureha in peace. That's right, Rimuru agreed, patting the giant snowball. He lived with her for 6 whole years. We should at least let him say his goodbyes properly before he comes with us. Luffy paused, remembering how warmly the citizens of his own hometown had bidden him farewell, and nodded. All right, but he'd better hurry up. Don't be so impatient, Nami scolded gently. Chopper leaving is going to be incredibly sad for both of them. Doctorine may act incredibly tough, but deep down, I think she's a very kind person. Are you sure about that? Luffy blinked. So we're just gonna leave without saying a single word to her? Usopp asked. Well, we are technically sneaking out with a medical patient who still needs 2 more days of official rest. So yeah, Rimuru laughed. Once Chopper gets back out here, we'll head straight down to the ship and set sail for Alabasta. Does that sound cool with you, Vivi? Yes, Vivi smiled warmly. Especially now that we have an official doctor with us. Doctor? Luffy blinked, completely confused. In that case, I'll go get the ropeway gondola ready, Usopp said, grabbing Luffy's collar. Luffy, give me a hand. I didn't even know there was a ropeway down here. So cool. Luffy cheered as Usopp dragged him off. And, finished. Rimuru cheered. What's finished? Nami asked, turning around. My masterwork. Rimuru proudly gestured toward a giant, perfectly sculpted snow replica of her blue slime form. Meanwhile, inside the castle armory, Kureha was busy instructing the village men to haul massive iron cannons out onto the snow-covered balcony. Dr. Kureha? One of the men called out, straining under the weight. I don't really understand this. What are we taking these heavy cannons outside for? Kureha chuckled softly. Just hurry up and get it done. Kureha left the armory and walked back into the medical wing to check on her remaining patients. When she entered the room, she saw that Dalton was the only one left in bed. Well, look at that, Kureha noted dryly. It seems like we have a few missing patients. Yes, Dalton smiled slightly. They all left, directly disobeying your strict medical orders. I see. What am I ever going to do with those kids? Kureha sighed, walking over to a table and picking up her drink. Doctorine. Chopper came running wildly into the room, panting for breath. Doctorine, I really need to talk to you about something right now. Chopper, where on earth have you been all day? Kureha scolded. Hurry up and head downstairs. You can help the men carry the remaining cannons outside. Please listen to me, Doctorine, Chopper yelled, standing tall. I'm going to become a pirate. I'm leaving with the others right now. Kureha froze. What did you just say? I'm going out to sea, Chopper declared proudly. I'm going with them as their official ship's doctor. I'm going to travel all over the world. Stop this utter foolishness, Chopper, Kureha roared. Chopper instantly startled, flinching back. Listen to me. You know you are my only assistant, Kureha snapped. I'm the one who taught you absolutely everything you know about medicine. Do you really feel no gratitude whatsoever for what I've done for you? And no, that isn't true at all, Chopper cried out. I'm incredibly grateful to you, Doctorine, and I'll always love this land. It's where I met you and the doctor after all. Humph, then you can just stay right here, Kureha argued, crossing her arms. If you think you can find another home as nice as this one somewhere out in the outside world, you are sadly mistaken. Those pirates aren't good for anything, Chopper. You'll just end up dead in some backwater sewer in no time. I can accept that, Chopper yelled back. Don't sound so sure of yourself, Kureha scoffed. A reindeer going out to sea. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. Yeah, I am a reindeer, Chopper screamed, tears flying from his eyes. But still, I'm a man. Kureha was completely taken aback by the sheer force of Chopper's determination. She slowly set her alcohol bottle down on the table. You can talk tough for now, but you are still my assistant, Chopper. If you want to leave this castle, then you're going to have to go right through me first. Do you understand? Doctorine. Before Chopper could say another word, Kureha whipped a massive hand axe right at his head. The blade embedded itself deep into the stone wall right next to him with a loud thwack. Wayawa! Chopper shrieked. Here's the thing, Chopper, Kureha growled, reaching into her coat. You're still completely afraid of your own shadow, and you're trying to tell me that you're a man? She pulled out a second battle axe. Don't make me laugh. But Doctorine, don't you see? Chopper pleaded, backing up. These pirates, they actually like me. Quiet you, Kureha threatened, hurling the second axe right past his ear. I'm not gonna let you leave. Kureha began rapidly grabbing various medieval weapons off the walls, throwing them in a wild barrage at Chopper. You're staying right here. Chopper turned and bolted out of the room for his life, with Kureha hot on his heels, arms full of spears and swords. Ayawa! Chopper screamed. Get back here, Chopper! Kureha yelled. Chopper scrambled down the grand hallway, racing right past the startled villagers as Kureha continued to hurl dangerous objects over their heads. Back outside in the courtyard, the Straw Hat crew began to hear the chaotic screaming echoing from inside the castle walls. That's a whole lot of noise coming from inside, Zoro noted, resting his hand on his sword. How completely inconsiderate. Nami sighed, shaking her head. Making all that racket while those two are trying to have a meaningful goodbye. How rude. Okay, everyone, we got the ropeway gondola completely ready to go, Usopp called out, waving from the edge. Just then, the main doors burst open. Chopper sprinted out in his full reindeer form, dragging a wooden medical sleigh behind him. Finally, here he comes, Zoro said. Ha! Everyone's jaws dropped as they noticed Kureha was sprinting right behind Chopper, angrily screaming and throwing heavy morning stars and broadswords at his heels. Completely terrified and confused as to what was happening, the crew scrambled onto the sleigh as Chopper raced past. They hopped aboard, packed tight, and the sleigh tipped over the edge, sliding down the massive mountain ropeway. The sleigh hit the bottom snowbank with incredible speed. Chopper kept right on running, dragging the entire crew past the stunned villagers at the mountain base as they made their way back to the Going Merry. Ha 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 ha! That was awesome! Luffy laughed hysterically, wiping snow from his face. Hey, reindeer, can we do that again? Luffy, we don't have time for that, Rimuru yelled, hanging onto the side of the sleigh. That was way too close, Usopp wheezed, clutching his chest. I thought I was a goner for sure. Back up at the castle peak, Kureha stood at the edge of the snowy cliff, quietly watching the tiny shape of the sleigh get farther and farther away into the distance. Dalton slowly stepped out of the castle doors and approached her from behind. "Do you really think that was the best way to say goodbye to him?" Dalton asked softly. "A pet I was taking care of is being looked after by someone else now. That's all there is to it," Kureha replied, her voice unusually quiet. Slowly, heavy tears began to well up in her eyes and roll down her cheeks as Chopper's figure finally vanished into the white landscape below. "Besides, I've never liked long goodbyes." Kureha wiped her eyes quickly and turned back toward the castle, playfully jabbed her elbow at Dalton. "Come on, we have real work to do. We have to prepare for a fitting send-off." Dalton smiled. "Right." After a short while, the village men lined up all of the heavy iron cannons along the castle balcony, aiming them straight up into the dark winter sky. They carefully loaded each barrel with a mysterious, bright pink powder Kureha had provided. Kureha stepped out onto the balcony, bracing herself against the freezing wind. "All right, is everyone completely ready?" "Yes, Dr. Kureha," the men shouted in unison. "Then fire!" The men dropped their torches onto the fuses. A deafening roar echoed across the entire island as the cannons fired simultaneously into the upper atmosphere. "Dr. Kureha, what are you doing?" Dalton asked, shielding his eyes from the bright flashes. "Just shut your mouth and watch." Kureha smiled through her tears. As the thunderous echoes traveled over the snowy plains, the pink powder burst wide across the clouds. The heavy winter air reacted instantly, turning the falling white snow into a brilliant, glowing pink storm. The flakes drifted down slowly, perfectly mimicking the elegant fall of cherry blossom petals. Kureha walked back to the edge of the cliff, the pink snow dusting her shoulders as fresh tears streamed down her face. "Have a safe trip, my stupid son," she whispered. Down in the lowlands, Chopper suddenly skidded to a halt. He looked back up at the mountain peaks and gasped. The unique shape of the Drum Rockies, combined with the billowing pink dust, made the entire mountain range look exactly like a colossal, blooming cherry blossom tree. Every single member of the crew stopped and stared in absolute awe. "Cool," Luffy whispered. "It's beautiful," Rimuru smiled warmly. "They look just like real cherry blossoms," Zoro noted, impressed. Chopper stared up at the glowing pink sky, his eyes wide. Doctorine." Chopper knew instantly that this breathtaking display was the culmination of Dr. Hirulik's life work, brought to reality by Kureha. He dropped to his knees in the soft snow, crying tears of pure, unadulterated joy as the cherry blossoms bloomed around him.